Good evening. Welcome back to Hellhound's Late Night Spook Show here on the Horror Metal channel. I'm Hellhound, obviously, and we're going to do yet another re-review. That's right, redoing a video I did when I first started this channel 6 years ago. One of the first movies I ever reviewed in this channel could use some improvements, so we're going to redo it right now. Of course, talking about the original Halloween from 1978. Directed by the legendary John Carpenter, who also co-wrote the screenplay along with Deborah Hill. Halloween, a brilliant and highly effective masterpiece of suspenseful horror. Oh yeah. So, Michael Myers murdered his older sister on Halloween night when he was only 6 years old and has been locked away in a mental institution ever since. Michael's psychologist, Dr. Sam Loomis, played by the always great Donald Pleasence, has recently given up on him as he seems to lack a conscience or any human emotion whatsoever. A few days before Halloween, the now 21-year-old Michael escapes from the asylum and goes back to his hometown of Haddonfield, Illinois, where he steals a creepy-looking white mask to wear over his face and hide his identity, along with a new outfit and some knives. Dr. Loomis follows him there in an effort to stop him, as he is the only one who knows what his former patient is capable of. The purely evil psychopath targets 3 teenage girls and consists of Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, Nancy Loomis as Annie Brackett, and PJ Souls as Linda Vanderclock. On Halloween night, Michael Myers begins stalking and killing anyone who gets in his path, while Laurie and Annie are babysitting young children, and Linda is trying to have some private time with her boyfriend Bob. Can Dr. Loomis stop him before he succeeds with his deadly mission? What can I say about this spectacular film that hasn't been said already 1,000 times? Director John Carpenter is truly a genius, just a mastermind, and this film alone is a testament to that. The Michael Myers character has to be the scariest villain in horror history, right down to every terrifying trait. He's just an unstoppable monster who has no remorse or grief about what he does. He's just pure evil in human form. I love how they kept Michael in the shadows for most of the movie, and you never really knew where he was, which upped the scares and suspense factor immensely. I applaud Nick Castle for his great portrayal as the mysterious masked murderer, as well as all the others, who is the living embodiment of fear. And Scream Queen Jamie Lee Curtis, who went on to star in several slasher movies in the early 80s and then have a huge career after that, very successful actress, of course. She played a great lead girl. She seemed genuinely terrified throughout the film, making the happenings all the more believable, but she did fight back a little bit, too. I love Laurie. She's one of my favorite protagonists of any horror flick, and Jamie Lee Curtis always does a great job, of course. And it's great how she constantly returned to the series over the years and is still playing the character now. A lot of actors who start out in horror and then made it really big think they're like too good to return to their roots and sort of reject the horror films that started their careers. So I really respect Curtis for not being one of those. The other teen actors are adequate, despite some annoying dialogue here and there. But it works, and Charles Cyphers is great as Sheriff Brackett too. I kind of like the whole contrast he has with Loomis, kind of the whole back and forth they have, the clash between the two characters. But my favorite character, other than Myers himself, is of course Dr. Sam Loomis. Donald Pleasence is one of my favorite actors, and his excellent character, the obsessed and determined Loomis, is one of the best horror protagonists of all time, and his blackest eyes monologue blows me away every time. His exposition was completely necessary and really added to the build-up, the mystery surrounding the Myers character, and really gave the audience a good idea of just how evil this character really is. Pleasence gives a very intense, focused, and believable performance. Luckily, we got to see more of him in most of the sequels that followed. Speaking of the sequels, none of them were ever really able to capture the eerie and ominous presence that Michael Myers had in this movie, which was perfectly done. He's completely unrelatable and emotionless here, and the less we know about him, the scarier he is. True boogeyman in every way. This movie is all about suspense, atmosphere, and build-up. It doesn't need gore, brutal kills, an extensive backstory, or over-the-top exploitation. What you don't see is scarier than what you do see, and when a lot of the horror is suggested, you kind of have to use your imagination a little bit. I'm a strong believer in the whole less is more thing, and this movie excels at that. I greatly admire the subtlety and simplicity of this film, and don't need a movie that has way too much going on, you know, with overly done loud and nonstop action happening on the screen at all times. This movie doesn't need it. It's perfect the way it is. Sadly, a few of today's younger and less imaginative horror fans can't appreciate that sort of thing and would rather see a more style over substance approach where everything is spelled out and spoon-fed. They find this movie boring, and well, I pity them because they're really missing out, but oh well. If you don't like this movie, you have a right to your opinion, and I mean no disrespect. I just prefer my horror with more depth, personally. But anyway, let's move on. Rant over. The score is top-notch too. Who could forget that creepy and iconic Halloween theme, composed by John Carpenter himself? And all the rest of the ominous music and sounds fit this film like a glove. To sum up, this movie has tremendous suspense, magnificent creepy atmosphere, terrific directing by John Carpenter, mostly exceptional acting, intricate characters, a splendid score, stellar scares, some groovy POV shots, peerless cinematography, some first-rate expositional dialogue by Dr. Loomis, an awesome opening credit sequence with a jack-o'-lantern slowly approaching the screen, fun nods to other horror flicks, and one of the most terrifying horror villains ever conceived. I could go on and on about what makes this movie so chillingly effective, but the best way to appreciate its greatness is just to simply watch it and see how a brilliant horror film should be made. This film is high art, a compelling and intricate slasher movie that offers something more than just a body count and cheap thrills. It definitely set a new standard for horror, and is still just as influential today as it was over 40 decades ago. Flawless filmmaking. Guys, well, I hope you enjoyed my re-review of the original Halloween. Let me know what you think of this awesome film in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching Hellhound's Late Night Spook Show here on the Horror Metal channel. I'm Hellhound, obviously, and until next time, later.